Everybody say hi.
What an introduction, huh?
Absolutely. Do you guys know each other?
We do.
I'm just kidding.
We've known each other for probably close to 35 years now.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we don't see each other that often, so whenever we see each other, all the fans notice we're always talking guitar, shop, everything, you know.
Yeah, between photos in there, we're like catching up on
exactly.
stuff.
Yes, and as I witnessed it myself, because you had mentioned a guitar he was talking about with the headstock that was bent, and he said it was like a banana, and I was like, and Keith LaRue is going, go get your picture. I'm like, I don't want to interrupt. All right, so.
Let me start out with a cool little story, actually. So,
excellent.
many of you remember back in 1985, I was in a band called Black and Blue. And in the fall of 1985, we were so fortunate to be asked to be the opening act on the Kiss Asylum tour. And we did the first 25 shows that in fall 1985. So after a few shows, I got to meet these guys, which for me, I know it sounds strange, I was excited because I got to meet the guys in Kiss. And one day, Bruce and I were talking about guitars, and I had this extra, it was a Charvel Strat. I don't know if you know what that is, but I have this guitar, and he was interested, and I said, well, I'll sell it to you if you'd like. And he said, sure. He says, so tonight after the show, come up, here's my hotel, this is where I'm staying, come up, bring the guitar, and we'll, go through it. So I brought the guitar up to Bruce's room after the show, and I remember thinking, I can't believe this, I'm going up to hang out with Bruce Kulick from Kiss, and I was just, overwhelmed at the time. I thought it was so cool. So, funny story.
And here you are, the Kiss guitarist, okay?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Dreams come true.
I was so excited. I can't believe I'm going to be hanging out with Bruce Kulick.
And the whole story of that guitar, because it was an interesting color, actually kind of a powder pink color, which was very in vogue in the 80s. And I bought it happily. It was on a magazine photo shoot thing with Mark Weiss, with whatever guitars I owned at the time, and it was Tommy that reminded me. I sold you that, And I don't remember. I think I know who I might have sold it 2 years ago, but we had a nice chat about that because those are pretty rare, the early Charvels. So we have a lot in common through the years, of course. So.
That is awesome. So that brings me to my first question. Now, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Kiss, but being guitar players that have inspired people to play guitar, and even today, you run into kids that are here right now. They're walking around with their guitars, and they have their first guitars. What were your first guitars? Who bought them for you, and how old were you?
Well, the first guitar in the Kulick household was actually a very inexpensive, acoustic guitar. It probably had nylon strings, which I hate. Now I call them worms, the strings. They don't feel like anything. But it was an important guitar because there was a hand-me-down from my brother. Probably got it as a folk guitar almost because he started learning a little before me when the Beatles didn't even exist yet or known, So it was more just a guitar. And I remember, though, as soon as I fell in love with seeing the Beatles on TV and wanted to play guitar, I started just running chords on it. Years later, I wound up giving it to a neighbor, and I told them never to sell it. Of course, they sold it. People always lie like that. Oh, never sell it. Yeah, sure. They didn't sell it as a Kiss guitar, okay? But I'm just saying, I would have loved to have had it because I played C and F chords so many times on it to practice. It was glad all over, which Paul loves. That I put a hole, the way Willie Nelson has the holes on his guitars from playing. It had like a hole in the soundboard on the top, So that was actually the very first guitar I learned on, and I was probably about 10 at the time, but I developed, obviously into having too many guitars.
I was about 12 or 13 years old, and we too at our house, I had brothers and a sister, and we had this old cheap Stella acoustic guitar. It was just a very cheap model, and it was always laying around, and finally I thought I wanted to learn to play guitar, so I started figuring out a few chords, and at the same time in the school band, when I was in 5th grade, I started playing saxophone. And so we had this lousy guitar, but I always wanted an electric guitar because I thought they looked cool. And my mom said, if you promise that you'll keep playing the saxophone through into high school, I'll help you buy an electric guitar. So my mom and I went down to this music store called American Music. It was actually in Vancouver, Washington, right across the river from Portland where we lived. And we picked out a real cool Fender Mustang, and it was $135, and my mom paid for that, which was so cool at the time. So it was a Fender.
Yeah, we all know
Terry.
Terry.
Hi. Oh, and speaking of violin, I had a violin scholarship to Carnegie Mellon University, so there's violin.
Whoa, that's amazing.
All right. The secret word today is violin. Okay. Word of the day. Okay.
I don't usually talk about myself, so sorry. My question is, since today is Mother's Day, so in honor of Mother's Day, I want to know, what's your favorite memories of your mother?
Well, that's a good question. Happy Mother's Day out there to everybody. All the mothers, raise your hands. That's amazing. And they're watching their own thing. Hi, happy Mother's Day. That's a good question.
Okay, I lost my mom just a little over a year ago, and it was very sad, of course, but she lived till over 93, which is really a miracle. And I got to admit that she was so fascinated with the whole thing about me playing in Kiss and all. And she had a secret crush, I think, on Gene Simmons, which I found really disgusting, to be honest. but she really cared, about all you guys and what we did. With these events, I'd have to show her pictures. She was very supportive. I'd play her anything I was working on, videos, everything. So she was just someone that you'd be surprised how much she knew about all of this. But that's not unlike Gene's mom, and I'm sure you know what it's like. So I really love that she was so involved and supportive of my career, and that's really important, as you know. Now, John Corabi, I'm not sure she likes you. Okay. Okay. No, hi, John. I love you. I'll be performing later with John, so I had to give him a shout out with something.
One of my great memories of my mom is when she and my dad too. They used to come to the concerts. They came to Kiss concerts, and even before that, Black and Blue. But they always really enjoyed it. And my parents were older. They had their kids a little later than most people did. So my parents were always about 10 years older than all my friends' parents. So my mom passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, and she was 90. But on her 80th birthday, we were playing in Portland. And so after the show, we had a big cake, and everybody, when we got off stage, came back, and we sang happy birthday to my mom. And the band, we were all still in makeup. And Gene and Paul and Eric, they really embraced my mom and made her really feel comfortable, and we guys had a really good rapport. So that was a great memory when we had our 80th birthday party backstage after we got them playing that one show.
That's cool.
Let me ask you guys this: the first time your parents ever saw you on stage in front of even a small crowd, what was their reaction? Obviously when they see you in front of a big crowd, it's like, holy, that's my son. But the first time, did they sit in the crowd and watch you and give you the little mom and dad?
I don't remember my mother seeing me before I joined Kiss, really, because I played clubs, and it wasn't the same as, obviously she got to see me in the home playing, so she knew. But certainly that first time was Madison Square Garden. So we're talking like 85, and then you hear the pecking order of all the parents that are there. Yeah, you were there. That's right. You were on the bill. That's so funny. So I just remember that my mother really, obviously, we had a great time. I remember we all went to, and it might have been even Meadowlands instead of the Garden for her. Or one time, I'll just tell you one other funny my mother's story. We all go to a diner after the show, a New Jersey diner after the Meadowlands, and they're going to take the order and like, okay, what would you like? I'll have something light. Can I have the pancakes? And I'm like, that's light at like midnight. I was like, really? But she was there like really committed. Just loved it. Very much like to be successful like Tommy and I have been, and we work hard at it. But it does take some parents to help guide you. And I was always aware of Tommy's rather dad, of course. I didn't really know too much about your mom, but my parents were just always very just very supportive and loving, yet strict about the things that probably need to be. They didn't like knowing if I got in trouble at school with something, and they would discipline me. It was, you need that kind of guidance in life. So I was very blessed with my parents, and I know Tommy feels the same way.
Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Wendy, and hi guys.
Hi.
And on Kiss Cruise 7, I was lucky enough to win the Q&A. So I got to talk to all you, and it was really intimidating. But when I asked my question, Gene and Eric took over. Imagine that. So I didn't get to hear Tommy's answer, and of course now I'll take advantage and get Bruce's answer, but it's similar to Terry's question. It was, what is your absolute, beyond nobody specific, as far as mom, dad, or whatever, your absolute favorite childhood memory? Like the first thing.
You know, and my wife Lisa, who's here too, she knows. It's pretty funny because we recently moved from California to Nevada. So, you know, you got to pack up everything. And then you got to make decisions, you know, are you going to keep this or not and everything. And I've held on to something that I haven't set up or plugged in ages, which is a road race set, okay? So I remember when I was about, you know, whatever birthday it was, maybe 9 or 10, I was desperate to get this road race set, and I kept saw the commercials on TV. And then sure enough, there were, you know, for my birthday, I got that road race set. I still have the box. I did something very rude and graphic on the cover of it. She knows about it. Something, I don't know, the way I drew something, but I was, you know, probably did that when I was a teenager. But it stays in the family, it's staying with me, and here I am, you know, years later, still, I have to have my road race set. So that day, I just remember, like, I had the best parents in the world, you know, that childhood was, I was just out of my mind that I could set this up and play with it. And I remember my dad being supportive as it grew, you know, you get more. And then you play with the friends sets and you try to make it work, you know, even though it's really garbage now compared to what you can do with that stuff. But yeah, like a toy, right? Everyone would remember something like that potentially as being a great memory.
I think some of my best memories is at the end of the school year every year, you know, when it was grade school, junior high, and it's, you know, you get out at the beginning of June and you have this summer vacation ahead of you. And I think that was the greatest feeling, some of the best memories, you know, growing up, because you'd get out of school and then you'd have this, you know, 3 month at that, you know, when you're a kid, it seemed like forever. And you just have summer vacation. That was really my favorite part of the year, and some really great memories.
Thank you, guys.
Talking about memories, Bruce, 40th anniversary blackjack, right? This year?
I'm not counting, but I guess you are.
Yeah. There's people out there counting.
79.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
40th
and then, you know, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tommy, you're coming up on 35 on some of these, right? Black and Blue Records.
The first album, that album came out in 1984.
Yeah, so that's 35.
Unbelievable, actually.
You guys looking back at that stuff and go, oh my God.
It is astonishing how much time goes by, and I don't, you know, sometimes that freaks people out because it's like, oh my God, we're getting older. But I can't believe, because I still feel like, you know, a certain energy and having a good time and doing what I love to do. And it just, I can't believe it's been that much time. And that's actually when I met these guys about that same time also. So it's just, wow, 35 years.
35 years. Name and question. Oh, we got a youngster, which we love.
I'm John. This is my son Jude. He's 7. I just want to say, by the way, that I used Crazy Nights, the album, to get him into Kiss.
It's your favorite? It's impossible to catalog like that.
It's really hard. Actually, one of the funnest songs to play is actually, and it's probably the most complex Kiss song arrangement-wise, is God Gave Rock and Roll.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love the stuff that Bruce did on that song, the guitar orchestration and all the solo stuff. It's really some of my favorite Kiss.
You guys doing that on this tour?
We were thinking about it, but for some reason we just decided.
Well, I could join you for that one.
You know, so we were talking over there, and Bruce says, "No, you guys, I noticed you took Hide Your Heart out of the set." And I go, "Yeah, we switched it up." And he goes, "You know, that was a song that I could come up and do." You know, wink, wink. Because we had such a good time on the last Kiss cruise, and Bruce came up and we jammed a few songs, and Ace came up, which was cool and all that. And I think that something like that could still happen if the circumstances are right. But I would love to see Bruce.
Yeah, and quite candidly, if it's going to happen, I would want it to be something that we're prepared. You know, a little more than
we tried on the Kiss.
Yeah, a little more on the cruise. I had a little warning, so I was able to go to Tommy's room. He's like,
but we had to do a little bartering though. It's a funny story. So
about the guitar.
Also, yeah, we decided we're going to do a little thing at the Kiss cruise. So even before the boat left the port, it was about 2 hours before we do the unplugged thing. And Bruce came to my room and we're like, okay, we're going to do this. And I had 2 guitars. They're called Chet Atkins. They're kind of a semi-acoustic acoustic thing. But and one of them's really good, and then the other one doesn't play as well. And Bruce goes, Tommy, you need to let me play your
number one.
your good guitar. Because if I'm going to play some, I said, okay, Bruce, you can play it. So.
Yeah, musicians are very neurotic about instruments and stuff, and and the comfort level. So, but anyway, getting back to the real point of God Gave or Hide Your Heart or a Kiss concert, I just want to be prepped before anything happens to make it great.
But I do know on the Kiss cruise, the one coming up, that we're going to do some more jams.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
There's the news for you.
Nothing's planned yet, but I think that there's a very good chance that will probably happen.
And now you see this little guy right here. One day there's a good chance he's going to pick up a guitar, and it's going to be because of one of you guys. We got Lita Ford here, we got Britt over here. We've got guitar players. Now you guys,
John,
you guys,
Jean Beauvoir.
absolutely. Now does it blow
Where's
your
Lita?
mind?
Mark
Lita's,
Slaughter is another one.
Mark Slaughter, who's most people don't know, shreds.
I know, he's
Mark
fantastic.
shreds. Yes, last night was amazing.
Fantastic guitar player.
So when kids today walk up and go, I play guitar because I saw you in concert, how does that feel? It's got to be emotional.
Very, I'm always honored by that. But I remember that how inspired, certain people, especially Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, that's why I goof around with Ace a lot, because we definitely had those influences, so we have that in common. Someone has to inspire you, and if it is, one of us, anything like that is really very flattering to the artist, because if they're motivated, or there's something that you do that connects. Music's all about communication and connecting with people, and when I give a guitar lesson, I try to explain that the best way to play is where you're communicating. That instrument, the soloing especially is so emotional that it kind of moves someone, and that connection is very, very hard to explain, right? You don't know what moves someone, and everyone's taste is different. But when you have that connection, and when Tommy does a show and everyone's like, wow, the guitar sounds great, oh, this is awesome, or, you connect with him, and that's our goal, is to just make you feel something, and then if it inspires you then to go buy an instrument or beg your parents for one, and then play, that's amazing. Always. So thank you if we've done that for you. I really love that.
Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
My name is Paul. I live here in the Indianapolis area. Back in 1985-86, I think I saw Bruce play with Kiss in Charleston, West Virginia. And that night, I think it was after the drum solo, Bruce came out wearing Gene's Axe bass.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to know what was the story behind that, because I assumed the road crew was playing a practical joke on you. And then for Tommy, did that happen in the current touring band?
Okay, all right. Let's set the record straight about that evening. And I believe one of the dealers here, Peter Arquette, might have had the pictures from that gig even. So what happened was, a Kiss show really is very much laid out as almost like a play, that is, what your songs are and what's in between, what's supposed to happen. So for me, it was my guitar solo, which was also, even though I may change some riffs up in the middle of it, but for the most part, the staging of it, the timing of it, what's going to happen, when I'm going to end it is real. Okay, right. Okay. So I went through my solo, I ended, which is the cue for Paul to come out and basically say, Bruce Kulick, play guitar, and they decided to, F with me, if you know what I mean. I'll keep it PG. And then I'm like looking around, and they knew they had me, okay, because the stage is mine, big Kiss sign behind me, and I'm the only one on stage, and they're just like, and then I play a little more, but I don't know what to do. I threw my guitar down or something to be rock and roll, and then when Gene started to come out, I was so upset. I knew not to really bother Paul, even though I didn't know who was to blame, and I just grabbed Gene's bass and I put it on, and I started to play Gene's bass. It was really just I guess my emotions were a bit out of control, but I figured, well, this would be a statement, and again, nothing was said or anything, but it was so awkward, what can I say? And there is a really good photo of me holding his axe bass, but I'm really out of my mind from what just happened, because I'm not that kind of a performer where this is great. They're leaving me the stage to myself. You know what I mean? I did my solo, and now like let's continue with the show. So it was like that nightmare of being on stage without your pants on or something. You know what I mean? It was terrible. So my reaction was, well, I'll have to get back at you, and I grab his bass, and they weren't too keen about that either, even though they started it, you know what I mean? And I didn't know what to do. But fortunately, it never happened again. Now, Tommy, please tell me they did that to you. Please.
Well, never on a show like that, but in the afternoon, we do these acoustic unplugged meet and greet things. And I don't know why, but for some reason we came out to start one of those one day, and Paul just jumped on the drums. Gene started playing guitar, and I think maybe Eric was playing bass, and we did Smoke on the Water. And I think I was singing the lead vocals. So.
But that's
that was
good.
I think there's a video of that around.
That sounds like
Awesome.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you guys had already been playing live in front of huge crowds before you were in KISS. But was there any kind of a transition to that first time stepping on stage and going, holy crap, I'm in KISS?
Look, I'm not going to lie. Even though I played arena shows with Meatloaf and some with Michael Bolton as well, and we had a record out in Blackjack. But when KISS asked me to join, temporarily for Mark St. John, that first gig, I'll never forget this. You know the expression, my knees were shaking. My knees were shaking, okay? I mean, the kneecaps were like, and I'm like, how am I going to get on stage? I'm going to play with KISS. This is ridiculous. It was just a venue in, I'm not saying just, but it was just not a giant arena, but it was a good venue in Ipswich or something, someplace in England. I was a nervous wreck, and that's when I realized how incredibly animated Gene and Paul were on stage. At rehearsal, they weren't running around, the way they command the stage. And all I know is I got the nickname Spruce Bruce from that, as like a tree, but that was because I'm trying to play, the material from Animalize. You saw that in KISS 3, right? The comedy movie. Yeah. And I'm just trying to play my guitar, and
in Bruce's defense, I have to say also, you get up there in KISS, somebody has to hold down
the chords. Yes.
Because these guys, they're going crazy, and they're looking cool and moving around, but there has to be something musically, there has to be a foundation there. So everybody sometimes forgets that. So so he's right about that. There's a certain thing that has to happen as far as.
But I'm sure you're nervous the first time on arena.
Well, no, the first show I really did with KISS was this private show down in Jamaica in early 2002. But of course, putting makeup on, here you are sitting in the little dressing room area, putting makeup on, getting ready to go up with KISS was an overwhelming feeling. And it's just to be up there, and when we were actually doing it, it was unreal because I'm on stage with KISS playing in KISS, and that's crazy. But I think some people have heard the story. The year before, on the end of the reunion tour, they didn't know if Ace was going to show up at Irvine Meadows for this show in LA, and I actually was in makeup and costume, ready to go, thinking that I was going to go up and play there that show, and he showed up with about 20 minutes to go before they were on, and it was just this whole fiasco. But that was kind of one of the things that led up to me eventually kind of.
It's not bad to be an understudy and then get the gig. And what is it, like 15 years now or something?
Yeah, I know, about 17.
17, okay, there you go. Right, give it up for Tommy, 17 years.
All right, so we got a bunch of questions from the crowd. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Angela. My question is, in my music class, we're starting a guitar unit, and I just wanted to ask for advice.
Guitar unit?
Yeah, like we do specific units in
Yeah,
school. And it's kind of like confusing to me because I play ukulele. That's my main instrument.
That's a start. Well, you got to turn those chords into the guitar chords because it's tuned differently, but it's the same kind of thing, Well, walk before you run. That I'll tell you. All right, so learn the basics and then build up to it and tune your guitar. Okay.
The hardest thing when you're first playing guitar, as I remember, is your fingertips get really sore. And for some people, that can be like, oh, I can't do this, But you have to get past that stage. You'll get there.
Thank you.
Use lighter strings too, as we all know.
Future star right there. Might want to know who that is. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, and you guys are my favorite band members.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
Thank you.
Sir, come on up. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm from Chicago. I have one quick comment. What can we do to get John Corabi on the cruise and play with Bruce?
Oh, okay. What'd you give him, $20 or 5? 25. Okay.
Because honestly, some of that hitting and stuff.
Johnny and I kissed the kiss. Yeah, but I think he's referring specifically to like John and I do something, you know. So
Yeah, like today.
it's always possible.
You're in.
All right, yeah, Tommy says you're in. Here we go.
You heard it here first.
Kiss Cruise 10. Okay, there we go.
We need Gene and Paul to rubber stamp that.
Yeah, we do. So don't. It's not in writing yet. Yeah.
So my question actually is, Tommy, what is your favorite Kiss Cruise memory? So far, since there's been 8. And Bruce, I mean, you've had 2 under your belt, and they're just amazing shows. We love hearing those classics.
Thank you.
So, do you have anything that you could say about the cruise?
You know, it's hard because they're all, those of you that haven't been on the Kiss Cruise, it really is a wonderful, cool, unique thing, and I know most people love it, and every one of them has been great, but I think this last one, and I'm not just saying, but when we got up and everybody jammed together, that was pretty, kind of one of those phenomenal, once-in-a-lifetime kind of experiences when we all jammed.
Oh yeah, Kiss Crusade is going to always be like hard to beat, if you get what I mean. And it was really a great feeling with everybody, and having Ace and Tommy and I all on stage with Eric and Gene and Paul, of course. And everybody was in a great spirits. And I have to admit, I mean, I was really nervous on 7, although in as much as it was a really great success, the set with my brother. But honestly, I was only going to be on it for a couple of days because of Grand Funk. By the time everybody really committed to us, me being on it and everything, the next thing I knew, Grand Funk's booking dates. I had to get off in Cozumel. So my nervousness was still there, but I was like, well, I'll only be on the boat for a day or 2. You know what I mean? And then I'm off. And of course, thank God the gig went well. But this last year was really I was just so proud of a set that was very specific to my era. And the only way to do that with enough songs would be to do medleys, which is a lot of fun. I get a real kick out of throwing songs together. I don't know. And my inspiration, you guys will laugh, is more the Rat Pack, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra used to do, and it was sometimes with Sammy too. And they would do like 20 hits in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just a chorus of a song. So I use that as a guide to how can I do in a Carnival of Souls medley, but not be more than 15 minutes or even 12 minutes and still be powerful. So that was a challenge, but love doing it, and I hope to do more of it, and obviously jam with these guys if they invite me there.
How did you feel on the last cruise before we got up and did that, when we all got together? Were you a little jittery? Or?
I was very nervous with that, mostly because, again, the comfort, being comfortable on your guitar instead of, with your strings. And then when I got up there, it was so funny, I couldn't get anything out of the guitar. Oh, yeah, he's using like some volume pedal or something I forgot about.
Well, a little jack came unplugged.
Yeah, it was like crazy. But
you can be in a band like Kiss, but it's still like your pedal comes unplugged.
Of course.
Jesus.
And then my biggest complaint up there, which none of you would know, is the fact that Eric's drums, which I'm sure you guys were used to, or whatever, maybe Paul wants it that way, so loud in the monitors that I couldn't even think. I could hear it was like my head was in his bass drum or something.
We're supposed to be playing acoustic here. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Those drums are just, you don't realize that we're on, and all these, it's so loud up there.
It was
pounding.
Unbelievable. And then one other thing about the cruise that I don't think I ever told you, it was weird. Afterwards, I was like, can you believe they got air conditioners on stage? Now that's deluxe, right? Who goes on the pool deck and there's air conditioners hooked up on stage?
They have air conditioners, these teleprompters with all the words. It's like, God, that is awesome. What happened to the old?
Yeah, exactly. So I got a kick out of that. Although I really felt like someone just threw me into, cold water and I didn't know, how to swim. It was crazy. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it anyway. And when you saw, whoever was there or saw it on YouTube. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Hi, sir. Your name and your question.
My name is David, and I'm from Minneapolis, St. Paul. And my question is for Bruce. And Kiss Extreme Close-Up, you said that if it was ever up to me, I'd put a dog makeup on. And very rarely I found a Kiss doll with dog makeup on and some Google images that were created. What, did Kiss ever create the makeup for the character, or that was just the fan?
It never came up, and since I get asked the question, and I get why. I mean, the band was known for, very iconic looking characters, and then of course Eric Carr, even though he switched it at the last minute, became the Fox, and then you had Vinny as the Yonk. I was glad that didn't come up, but I just always thought it was funny. I do love dogs, so I would make the joke. Well, there was a cat in the band, I'd be the dog, and there have been some people who drew this, and I get a kick out of it. Lisa and I laugh about it all the time. You'd be the dog, you put a little patch on one eye or something, right?
Here's a funny story. In 1974, when I saw the first Kiss album cover at the record store, I thought it was like a dog, not a cat.
You thought Peters was a...
And I saw the names on the back, and for some reason I thought that Ace was Paul for some reason.
Okay.
And I thought that,
Yeah.
and you didn't know because they just had their names not by the pictures, so you had to guess who's who and all that, which is kind of cool. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, go on.
Little man. Oh, you're going to pick him up. Oh, that's awesome.
What is your favorite band outside of Kiss?
Oh, good question. Very good question.
I think it's probably the same one.
Really? Probably. Well, maybe. Yeah. Are we talking about the Beatles? Okay. And then probably, and if you're talking about a rock band, yeah, and then bands like Led Zeppelin and Cream and certainly, well, there's other guitarists that really inspired me, but the British Invasion or some of the Who was amazing, but I definitely there's so much. We grew up in the right era, believe me. Even though Tommy's younger than me, he knows the same music, right? I mean, you didn't grow up to the wrong stuff, but and you
wrong stuff. What was the wrong stuff?
Probably the '80s.
Those damn '80s bands.
Yeah.
Black and blue.
No, not that.
Just hair metal.
Well done, touche. Okay, you got me there. But the great guitar players that came out of that era of the '60s and the British Invasion, and of course, really probably starting with the Beatles. But I always feel this, and Tommy, you tell me if you agree, because Kiss, you notice it was four guys. Paul was smart enough not to be Stanley, Eisen as a rock star, of course, and took the name Paul. But I always felt like Kiss in many ways did get very inspired by the Beatles. Having four very different personalities, even though they took it another level with the makeup and everything, and not a bad band to kind of base something on that everyone. And the Beatles really did that incredibly with even though no makeup or anything, with the haircut, but just working each personality, and each person would be singing and yet there's two people that were most dominant for the most part, even though the guitarist in that case was George Harrison was really important. The same way Ace made such a big impact too. So I always see parallels.
Interestingly, back in the '60s too, when Hard Day's Night, the movies came out, Ringo was actually probably at one point the most popular.
Absolutely.
Because he had this whole, the rings and their.
Yeah. And the big nose.
Mercy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much.
You did good. But I also like it.
Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
My name's Erica. Was there a defining moment for you guys in your life when you realized or knew that music was part of your calling or was your calling?
Excellent
Like you had that
question.
aha moment, you're like, this is it.
For me, I'd say no. I know that sounds weird, but I never, when I was a kid, I just did it because I loved doing it, and I aspired to be like the bands that I loved, and, get up there with the guitar and do stuff. But I never looked at it like, oh, I have to be a rock star, or this is going to be, nothing's going to be right unless that happens. I just looked at the immediate future, what I want to try to do with whatever band I'm in and that sort of thing. But I never looked at it like that. And I know everybody's different. Maybe it's different for Bruce.
No, very similar actually. I dreamt about it, but I didn't necessarily, do everything, possible except play my guitar and enjoy that. And the only couple of times I kind of got an aha moment, like you're asking, is I would play in a lot of cover bands, you know. And I remember a couple of times like an agent would have to come or a fan that really liked the band. And these were cover bands, so we're not like an original thing. But I remember the agent one time that came to see the band, didn't care about the band, came up to me, you're going to make it, you know. And I was just like, oh, that's nice, okay. You know, but still not believing it until you get that gig. And then there was this one fan that was, believe me, not attractive. She would, even if she had a crush on me, whatever, she was just like, you're going to be a star one day. You know what I mean? She said that to me, and I was like, she just wants to sleep with me. You know what I mean? You know, I didn't believe it, you know, but she was right. You know what I mean? To being a band like Kiss and all the things I've accomplished, she knew something.
You know, and it's different with different people, because I've heard Paul Stanley say when he was younger, he told people, I'm going to be a rock star, and there's just nothing's going to stop me. So, you know, everybody has kind of a different attitude.
But it was all for the love of it.
Yeah, more so, yeah, the music and playing guitar and stuff, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Come on up. What's your name and what's your question?
Hey, my name's Heidi. My question is this, and it goes to both of you. I love you both. I'm a late bloomer to all this Kiss stuff, but I'm grateful for it all. I'm not a musical person, but I would like to play the guitar. My question is, do I start like an acoustic, or do I just go right into the electric?
It doesn't really matter. Whatever you're more drawn to. And electric's easier to play than an acoustic, you know, even though lots of times that's what you see people for. You got to learn your chords on an electric the same as an acoustic. So it really doesn't matter, whatever you're really kind of drawn to. But don't just learn from YouTube and stuff like that. You know, try to find someone that plays that would show you a few things and see how it goes. And like Tommy mentioned earlier, you got to be patient. Your fingers might hurt or whatever. But I think any instrument, picking it up from the ukulele we heard about and the violin earlier, there's something about playing an instrument that is really good for your soul, your heart. Yes, there you go. And that is I encourage everybody. I don't care if you're tone deaf. You know, there's something about music that's really healthy, healing and healthy. And now it gets competitive when it becomes a career, you know, and all that. But with, you know, again, becoming professional is very hard for any profession. But in the sense of music, it's for all of you. So that's why, you know, play your guitars. I always laugh at how about the ones that just hang them on the walls? You know, they own 20, but they don't know one chord. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it if it's one of our guitars, you know. But I will admit that it's fun also. You know, have one that you can just tool around on and sit and watch TV and just noodle. We call it noodling. You practice it. You can just sit around and play guitar, you know, whatever.
So you would go electric. I mean.
Well, unless you're, look, it doesn't matter. It's a guitar, 6 strings. It's tuned the same. Pick whatever you go to your local guitar center and drive them insane. Tell them I want to play a guitar, and they'll come right this way. No, it's incredible the instruments you can get now. Pretty inexpensive.
I'd say, you know, an acoustic guitar is always a good place to start because it's very simple. You don't need a bunch of equipment. You just have an acoustic guitar and just learn the basic chords. There's 4, 5, 6, you know, basic rudimentary, you know, G, D, the simple chords, and just start there. And then you can start strumming and playing songs and singing and just keep it simple. There's a chord book, just the basic chords.
Right, but remember the strings are heavier on the acoustic, so don't be discouraged by that. So you can always put lighter strings on them too, like I do.
But I think an acoustic guitar is easier when you start playing and you can sit with other people and play together, sitting at home, or, you know, if you're sitting around a campfire or whatever you're doing, you know, it's just easy. It's kind of a communal way to do it. That's what I would do.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to ask you, are you guys currently rehearsing for your overseas gigs?
Yeah, I mean, before the tour started, the first show was in Vancouver on January 31st, and we rehearsed and prepared for this more than I've ever done with almost any band, and certainly what I've ever seen with Kiss. So, because I think that this tour was going to be, it is a cut above as far as the production. It's a whole new approach, and I think that they wanted, Gene and Paul, they wanted to spend more time and more money, frankly, in that stage of making sure that this is going to be on a whole, higher standard. And it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. And
So what we're doing now is we just played 45 shows, and then we just did Mexico City a week and a half ago, and then we're going to leave for Europe in about 2 weeks, and we're going to get together and rehearse. I think we have 5 rehearsals planned before we leave, and it's just getting back into that groove, even though we've been off for a few weeks, just to get back into the swing of it and make sure that when we get to the first show in Europe, that it's right there where it was when we did the last show in Birmingham. And
learn God gave rock and roll. And hide your heart. Go over that one.
So I liken it to, a professional athlete. If you're going to go run a race or do this, you go out and practice. You need the condition, even though we know the songs and all that. But it's just important to start singing and start playing and get into a groove. So when we get there, we're going full bore.
I think I speak for everybody here when I say the new show smokes, right? Now tell me this, was it not the most amazing thing when Tommy started shooting UFOs out of the sky? I was like, that is epic and a nice touch.
Well, those are the kind of things I'm talking about. That took extra time and rehearsal to work, get some new things in there. I mean, you still have the classic moves and gags that we've always done, or Kiss has always done through the years, but then also kind of embellishing on that and making, kind of taking it to another level in a way. So but that takes time and it takes, more investment to do that.
Yeah, rehearsal. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
My name's Anthony from New York City. How you doing, guys? Can't wait for the cruise this year. It's going to be awesome. Bruce, I always say I love your era of Kiss. To me, it was like the best of both worlds. The band was making new music, but still playing classics. So, 2 thumbs up for that.
Thank you.
So, Tommy, my question for you is, are there any solos from Bruce's era that you're really into and are like, man, I'd love to play this someday? Or...
Well, like I said, one of my absolute favorites is actually God Gave Rock and Roll to You. When we play it, I feel like I do play that one pretty faithfully. Now, here's my disclaimer, everyone. Some of the 80s stuff, it was a different approach, different kind of guitars and that sort of thing. I play a Les Paul, and back then, there was a lot of whammy stuff and, dive bombs and things. So, not that it's an excuse. So maybe I didn't go back and do those ones exactly as faithfully or exactly as maybe the 70s stuff that I do. So, and maybe I should, go deeper on that. But that's the reason because it is a different approach in so much.
Oh no, I mean, Kiss wanted me to be competitive with the Eddie Van Halen and that era and everything. And I incorporated what I felt I could do well, but was appropriate for Kiss music. But certainly, if it was important for the band or they chose to do 5 songs from some of my era, it would be a little different for your approach. And you may have to. I fake it sometimes though. I do some of those songs with a stop bridge, but I have to play it differently. I do have to.
And the same is when you were in the band. If you guys played Cold Gin or Deuce or something, you didn't go back and play it as exactly like the way I do necessarily because you were in your own kind of.
Yeah.
It was a different time, and so they didn't approach that the same way, almost kind of the way I'm trying to adapt maybe what he did and just adapt it slightly to a Les Paul and even the Vinnie Vincent stuff. It's kind of all over the place. Not in a good way, but it's there's all kinds of dive bombs and whammy and all kinds. It's a whole literally different approach with guitars and the equipment and everything and sound. So it's there's a little bit of an adapting going on there. And I know some people say, "Oh, Tommy, you're not doing that," and maybe I should try to get a little closer to it too.
You know my number. If there's a riff that stumps you,
Well, I think we've actually done that before.
Yeah, of course. Well, but there was one rehearsal I popped in, and you're like, what are you picking during Hide Your Heart? I think it was, yeah. And I showed him, and I'm telling you, it's always hard to really pick out a specific instrument, especially when the mix has doubled guitars, and then of course the drums and bass are all in there, and maybe even other things like a keyboard pad or who knows, and the vocals. So you're never sure what someone's doing, But I'm always, me being in Kiss, those years I got to see what Gene and Paul did. So when I went off sometimes to play another country and I'm trying to help the band that's going to back me for a set, I'm like, no, Gene never played it like that. This is how it goes. You needed to do that, But believe me, I knew it because I saw him do it. You know what I mean? It's a little different.
And I'm open to that too, And also, when we were doing acoustic, we were doing which one? World Without Heroes. You know, I listened to the album when I was kind of learning it, and it was kind of different, and I didn't really recognize it. I actually got the unplugged, version, and I tried to learn that instead because it made more sense to me.
Well, because I interpreted whatever the elder was,
So you go through the years, all these different, several different guitar players. You're trying to just kind of keep it going. It's not always simple, I guess is what I'm saying. So.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the ship. And Tommy, if you can, please get the band to play All Hell's Breaking Loose this year.
Oh,
Wow, look at that.
I've been a proponent for that for a long time. I like that song.
Great song, yeah.
That's great. Bruce, are you still interpreting the elder? Because I am too. Great shirt, by the way. What's your question, sir?
This is for Bruce. What was your favorite memory with Eric Carr?
Wait, my favorite
Memory of Eric Carr.
Oh, memory of Eric Carr. Okay. With Eric Carr or about Eric Carr? With Eric Carr. Well, I got to admit that, I wouldn't, this one was bittersweet. The fact that, at a certain point, we all know that he got ill and then he needed to be treated for cancer. And it was really scary for the band. And it was very, very hard to imagine one of your bandmates, like family, who could obviously, die from it, and yet it forced him from not being able to perform on the Revenge album, but we needed to move forward and we continued on. But then there's the God Gave Rock and Roll League. So I was so happy that Gene and Paul did want Eric to perform. So there he is, still like just fresh out of like whatever treatments he was getting, which I'm sure was back then, pretty heavy duty chemo and everything, right? Wearing actually a wig that really did look like his hair. It was incredible. The one guy that could pull off, a big, kind of like that curly wild hair. And he picked me up in his rental car to go to the video shoot, which, by the way, video shoots are like 16, 18 hours, right? Oh, you were there. So, he had more energy than me. He played his heart out. He did a fantastic job, drove me back home. And
you guys know that video it was in a big airplane hangar. Do you remember that video?
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool.
I didn't like my outfit, but that's another story. Okay.
But we're all guilty of that in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the 90s actually, so yeah.
I guess that's part of the problem too.
Yeah, part of the problem. Yeah. But I just like I said, as much as it might have been really the last time I got to perform with Eric, and we were really tight. I was so proud of him, that his energy and motivation and commitment to be amazing and perform on that. And I still cherish the tape I have because he did do some backgrounds for that song. And I had the samples of that Bob Ezra gave me, who produced the record, and you could really hear Eric's voice coming in on that.
The breakdown in God Gave Rock and Roll with the
Exactly.
It goes a cappella and it's really mellow. You can hear Eric's voice in there, like very distinct.
Yeah, and it's like an angel, He really had a great voice, especially on something. He could sing real aggressive, but his sweet voice just had a tremendous tone to it. So, I like to think of, as much as it was so sad that I wouldn't, have him around much after that, but that video will always be connected to my memories of friendship with Eric Carr and how great he did for that. And I hope you guys enjoy that video, because that was really sad in one way, but in another way, a triumph to see him do that and do that video for us, right?
Thank you for your question. So proud that these young folks got questions. Your age, I would have been hiding under that chair right there, but go for it. What's your question?
What do you like to do outside of KISS?
Hunt, fish, jump on airplanes?
But I play golf actually, but I haven't been playing as much lately, so that's one thing for me. And we travel so much, because a lot of people, most people, when you have a vacation or time off from work, you want to go travel somewhere. So I can't tell you that I necessarily love traveling all the time, because we do it. But I do love going out and being with friends and going out and having a great dinner at a nice restaurant and enjoying nice food and things like that. So just, the good life. And I enjoy being around just people I enjoy being around and having a good time.
And I have to admit that, depending on what's going on in my life, I'm still obsessed with music, okay? So I play music most of the day, okay? I love the last 3 or 4 years, I just got obsessed with people like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and listening to that era, because it was the great American standards, which are incredible songs. So as much as I could still listen to the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, my diet has been music, and lots of times it's listening to stuff that I didn't grow up with, but I always had like this, why do I like that? Why do I like Witchcraft or, Satin Doll? The first time I saw a band play Satin Doll, I said, that really swings and feels good to me. So I just love music, but like Tommy, I'm pretty mellow. I love spending time with my wife. I'm very fortunate that we love hanging out. Now we'll enjoy a good, restaurant or some friends, and we recently have a new home, so that's been obsessed with the home. Okay, every square foot I'm trying to make perfect, and that's a job. Let me tell you. But I enjoy that because I've worked, as people know, I've worked very hard, my whole life, and you want your home to be good. So you'd be surprised how much a musician that you know about, how much we do a lot of really kind of normal, boring things that have that aren't wild and crazy at all. In fact, I think both of us are pretty on the down low with the insane factor, right? You can read about that about other guys that were in the band.
We went there a little bit more when we were a little younger, I think.
Exactly. But nowadays it's pretty simple.
When I was the opening act.
Yeah, I bet. I remember some wildness way back. But thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Hello, sir. Hi, how are you? What is your name?
My name is Phil from Atlanta. Got a couple of questions. Philadelphia, 1987 for Bruce. The band came out saying White Christmas a cappella. Do you have a story behind that? Whose idea was it?
I guess we were brave enough. I was petrified, a cappella, I'm not quite the singer I'd love to be, but we pulled off a few. I think we did it in a few places, though. Yeah, we did the Mark and Brian thing. But I don't remember a backstory except going over it a couple of times backstage and them being sure, me begging them, give me the easy note, okay? Which is usually one note. You know what I mean? The common tone note, right? But look, it's Christmas. It's Kissmas, as you all know. We all love that play on words, but it was pretty interesting for sure.
And for Tommy, I don't think I've ever heard you mention anything about, but what was the background? What was the thought of putting together the Ultimate Kiss tribute band, Cold Gin? And how did that segue yourself into working for Gene and training Ace on the reunion tour, teaching him his leads?
Well, I knew well before when we did Cold Gin, I knew all these guys, and we were all friends, and Gene had worked with Black and Blue, and I'd written songs with these guys, and so that was really just kind of a whim. We didn't sit around and think we want to create the ultimate tribute band or anything. We just literally, there was a club called the Filthy McNasties, FM station, and we go up and hang out there. So one time we thought, let's go up. We've got some friends, we just play some Kiss songs, and then it just evolved into, okay, we're going to put Kiss makeup on because it's Halloween or something, and it just kind of took on a life of its own for a little while. And then these guys ended up coming to a couple of the shows, and everybody was having a great time and laughing. But it was just, we had already been professional, putting records out and doing stuff. So it was just kind of a lark, just something to do for fun, really.
Didn't you use the old backdrop or the candelabras that I heard you use the old logo signs? That was all new?
No, we just made some stuff. Some of the guys had fun and made a Kiss logo and stuff. So it was really, over time, it's turned into something much more than what it really was. But at the time, there wasn't really a lot of Kiss tribute bands. This was kind of early on, a little bit before all that. So there was a few. And then there was a band called Alive that played up in Canada, and that's where Spiro came from, because he was in that band. And then our guy, Chris McLaren, joined Saigon Kick, so we needed another guy to do a couple gigs, and then that's when we met Spiro, and he came down and did that with us. And it just kind of had its course, but I think after a while I decided, I don't want this to be like something that's too big or something too important, because I had other things I wanted to do, and we just, I think the Kiss conventions kind of started, and that's when I met Phil, because what we did was, on the Kiss conventions, I was really organizing the whole thing, and so in each city we wanted to find one person that could kind of be on the ground as our point person, and you were that person in Atlanta for us, right, Phil? Yeah.
You know what you reminded me of is the fact that I just recently, with my move, gone through all these clippings and magazines and everything. And I found pictures of you in the makeup and Colgin. When that time I came down to see you, we're all in pictures together. There's pictures of, it's great to see the pictures of John and I from the Union, which is now like 18, 19 years. Pictures of Lita Ford too over there. Back in the day. Hi, Lita. How's it going?
We love you, Lita.
Yeah, thank you. What was crazy with Lita was the fact that she all of a sudden covers a song that we never put out, and Gene and I are like, do you remember the song? No, I don't remember the song. Then finally when you shared it, I'm like, I do remember the song. And she had to send pictures to Gene and I to show that we actually did record with her in the studio the song, which we both forgot. So I want to apologize to you about that. I totally forgot. And it's a great song. I love it. I love it. So thank you for resurrecting something from the past. But I found the photos in Metal Edge. You remember that magazine? And the scene and all that stuff. It's all great.
I met Lita because back in 1987, 88, my old band, we used to open up on the road for Lita Ford. And, there's some good times. There's some good tours. I think we were like the third act on the bill. And then they were headlining and all that. But that's, I think, when I first met Lita. Yeah, back in the day.
But one big family, right?
Tommy, can you talk at all about the boot camp with Ace in '96?
Well, I mean, it was pretty simple. I think I've told it before. Basically, they got together. They did the Unplugged, the MTV Unplugged, and then the idea came for the reunion tour because I thought, well, I think one of the stipulations with the MTV Unplugged was that Ace and Peter would come and do a jam at the end, right? And that was kind of part of the selling point of that. So that got a lot of response, and so it was kind of it felt right to do a reunion, I guess. And they obviously, business-wise, there was some, incentive to do that too. So they got together and they rehearsed, and I even remember when we rehearsed for the Unplugged, these guys were a little off their game, just to be honest with you. And so when they got out to LA a couple of months later to start, like, the four of those guys rehearsing, it just was not very good, to be honest with you. And there was, and I think it was a matter of those guys, they kind of weren't playing the parts the way they originally did, and they kind of got off course on that. So I sat down with Gene and Paul asked me we sat down and talked a little bit, and they said, you should get, all this stuff, Tom, you should get together with these guys and just bring them up to speed a little bit. And so they asked me to do it, and so I did that first with Peter for a week or two, and then Ace. And
did you have like a timeline, like 3 months to get them up to?
No, I think we just thought we'd spend a couple weeks doing that and work on it.
It worked out. Sandy Gennaro helped with the
I think that
drums?
was a little later.
Oh, later on, okay. Now, who is Blackjack drummer?
Blackjack drummer.
Yeah. He told me he helped out with something to do with Peter.
It was after that, I think, once we got going, then they thought maybe that would help a little bit too, because, it just, they wanted to get it up to, they had to get it up to a certain level, and so we all worked together, and I did that.
Can you say if you ever took Ace or Peter out to the gym?
No, I think part of it, I never did that.
It was not only playing, it was physical too.
Bill wants to do the interview here. You know
Bill,
that, all right?
you're killing me.
One question, thank you.
No, it's a good question. I think all at that same time, it was all-encompassing. We were working on the music. I was sitting down with those guys. I think they were all in a gym regimen at the same time to get everybody, conditioned in shape, because they ended up doing over 200 shows in like 13 or 14 months, which is pretty grueling. So there was a whole gym conditioning part of that and everything. I wasn't directly involved with that, but they were doing that at the same time, yes.
Lesson we learned in the end, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
My question is, I've always been
The mic, yeah.
I've always been into like the live music, seen you guys from the beginning to the end, and I just took my grandson to see for the first time because he's a huge Kiss fan. But his question was, why is the music not in schools anymore like it should be, or how can we get it back? I mean, how would you tell a young one to start?
Well, unfortunately, when we were in school, fortunately, when we were in school, we had good music programs in the public schools for the most part. At least we did where I grew up. These days, budgets, school budgets and education budgets are being cut, and the things that go first are things like music and arts, unfortunately. And there's probably a lot of political reasons and things behind all that. That's why what I like to do is help support kids in that high school, that age, teenage years, to be able to enjoy and learn music through school, and maybe that means raising some money or different kind of after-school programs where kids can go, learn to play music or have instruments or dance or art and things like that too. So I like to support that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, I was just in Arizona about a week and a half ago because Alice Cooper has this teen center there. It's called Solid Rock, and he raises money, and he does exactly that. Is he provides a musical environment for kids to come in and learn to play instruments, and also his wife Cheryl does a dance program. So they're really involved in that. So I think we all need to, as much as we can, support that type of thing because it is important for kids to have arts and music, and they are missing that a little bit now in the public schools. So we just have to keep working on raising money and do whatever we can to support that.
And if you can't, then the parents really need to know, like, there's opportunities for the parents to get, I think there's like schools of rock and things like that, or just get them an instrument and get them engaged in music, unfortunately, but I know about some of the stuff you've done, and that's great. I think it, Tommy makes a great point, but it's sad that it's cut from the schools. So then it's up to the parents to say, like, I think my child really would like to play piano or like to play guitar, and then try to get that going, Do you, one last thing about that. Did this happen to you? Because this is an interesting story. I don't really think I ever told it. I remember in school, it had to have been grade school or something, or junior high, where everyone had to go to an auditorium, and then they did some sort of way of testing everybody. And you answered certain things. It was a musical test in a way. And then they decided which, ones, responded right, which I did. And all of a sudden, all right, you're going to be in the school band. You're playing, double bass. You know what I mean? And I actually couldn't do it because of, believe it or not, Hebrew school. Okay, because I had to be bar mitzvah, being a good New York Jew. And could you imagine me like dragging a double bass? That's the big stand-up bass every day home from school. You know what I mean? But in one way, I realized, God, that might have been really amazing to do, but I didn't have that opportunity. But I'll never forget that they knew that I had talent from just something. They didn't bring me in one-on-one. They tested everybody like in an auditorium. It was weird, but I don't know if they do any of that now, really, They didn't do that to you? No, they did something else. They gave him growth hormones for his hair. Okay, that's what they gave him.
Great question. Yes, sir. Name and your question, please.
My name is Mike, and first off, I'd like to say my first concert was 1985, Kiss and Lost. Unbelievable. My last concert.
Me too.
My last concert was March 2nd in Chicago. Also unbelievable. I've been to hundreds of concerts, and those two are still the best. My question is the friends that you had growing up in that, when you joined KISS, how was the reaction? I mean, can you still relate with them? And that's not really how I want to say it, but.
Well, as far as my situation goes, I feel like I've always kind of been the same person, to be honest with you. It really doesn't go to my head or that sort of thing. And I think it might be maybe my background, my parents and the way I grew up and stuff. So I still have a lot of the same friends, and things really haven't changed too much. I think they're impressed in a certain way, but at the same time, we relate on the same level, and it's not some kind of a weird thing where there's I can't relate to them anymore or something. So the answer to the question, I still have a lot of the same friends, and we still. But I think naturally, regardless of what you do in life, sometimes people grow apart. So all your friends when you're in high school, you still have a relationship or friendship with some of them, but some people drift apart too because you kind of go different directions just generally in life anyway. Whether even if you're not in a big rock band, but, you just kind of go different directions. So yeah,
it is funny reconnecting with very, very old friends who knew you when, and most of them that I've had the chance to get to know a little bit again have told me how I'm exactly the same, which I find really funny. And for the most part, I've kept them, or they've been cool. I've lost a few too because they just think, well, he's a KISS guitarist, or and he's gone on to play with this band and that band, and so they don't.
An asshole.
Yeah, that he must, or whatever, or just not have time, whatever. And I feel bad about that, but there's nothing I can do. If they did spend the time to say hi or hang out with me, they would think I'm the same guy in high school. So, but it does affect relationships. Fame does, because people have a perception, and it's comfortable for some, and for others, they know you're the same, and they're willing to, hang out with you. So, similar to Tom.
One last statement is just a quick statement. I've got numerous friends, including the best friend that I've had for 35 years, because of KISS.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Let me add something. I think it's interesting what you just said, because the thing I've noticed with KISS fans is there is kind of a community more than I've seen with other bands in a lot of cases. And I especially notice it on the KISS cruise. I think people love to go on the KISS cruise because it's exciting and, we're playing and all that kind of stuff too. But I think that, tell me if I'm not wrong, but there's another element of kind of almost like a reunion every year where everybody gets together and they get to see each other again.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Well, they do it here in Indy, right?
Yeah.
Right?
These expos and things, the same kind of thing, because I think you guys all really appreciate each other, but you relate also, you have a common, interest and love for something that you're all passionate about, and I think that's really special and unique and cool.
And we were lucky to be associated with that, aren't we? Right? So thank you.
Awesome.
All right, I think we're going to do our final question before wrap up.
All right. Well, I'm Kaylee. We were actually kind of talking back there at the KISS Army Warehouse table. We wanted to know what KISS's opinions were on the tribute bands.
Wow. I mean, I remember at one point they were flattered. At another point, they were angry if they saw the logo being used or things like that. But going, wait a minute, this is, but for the most part, and I really mean for the most part, I think they were very flattered by it, and not supportive in the sense that they're going to go like, I sanctioned this one or that one, And so some of the cruises, they did some stuff where they did contests and stuff.
But when we did the KISS conventions, we had a tribute band at every convention too, and I think that they really love it or we love it, or particularly those guys, because I think it's a testimonial to, if you have more tribute bands in the world than almost anybody else, that really says a lot about what they do and what KISS is. And I think the issue what Bruce is talking about, nobody's supposed to use the KISS logo or the imagery unless you have permission. And when you have a trademark or copyrights like that, part of it is that you have to enforce it, because if you don't, then somebody else can say, well, they didn't enforce it there, so I can do it. So there's a whole kind of a legal thing where you have to do that. It's not just because you're an asshole and say, excuse me, where, we're just going to be, mean about it or something. So there's a whole kind of a legal thing that you have to get behind that and put some weight behind it. So.
But the funny one and I'll wrap it up here with remember we did KISS conventions, right? And I remember then other people did KISS conventions, and they got upset about, they didn't want people to use that name. So, then you go on the KISS Expo.
But it wasn't because it was just because from a legal point, they had trademark or copyright KISS conventions. Right. That's like a thing. So that's why it has to be called a KISS Expo, because you have to enforce that trademark to protect it. So that's why. And I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but it's not because they just want to be.
No, I think you're explaining it better than even I understood it. That you let this one get away with the logo on a guitar pick. I remember they didn't like if someone's making picks with their name on it with the KISS logo because they're in a tribute band. You know what I mean? That's not cool. So I do understand that, because you
have to. You have to do that. But they love, and I know that we all love the fact that people get together to celebrate KISS and do a KISS Expo or a convention, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's just really unique, and it's a special thing that you guys are all here being part of it and make this happen. And even Gene and Paul know that this is very special, and they've got a very unique, special thing with KISS.
And that's why they've been here, right?
Yeah. And
Which
so
is remarkable.
It's a great thing. It's a great nod to all you guys. And
exactly.
How cool it is. So we thank you, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts.
Absolutely.
That we do this stuff, and you guys are here every year coming together with this. So it's great.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Tommy Thayer. Bruce Kulick. Give a round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Listen, one second before we go. Sonny, I want to tell you about Sonny and I do a podcast called Podcast Rock City. We do a show every Monday on iTunes.
Oh, there you are.
Try to listen to the podcast. You got a couple of guys over here, Kiss FAQ, and you got Kiss My Collectibles guys. They write books. Pick up their books. They're amazing. They're written by us, the Kiss fans, which makes it even more awesome because they speak for us. Thank you guys very much, and make sure you give Keith and Steve a big hug and their entire crew because without these guys, this doesn't happen. Peace.
And then you let me know.